going through now from the main town through the gate there by the South Street there, in through this way, and the cathedral into Buchanan Gate. And the bishop, throughout the time bishops have been here, have had a private garden. If you walk through here, you can see you can imagine a building extending from that that area of the buildings. It's got a wonderful room in there. They've had exhibitions.
It's a bloody Tudor room
the
there.
Bishop's Palace. Underneath there are footings which are Roman. And so when they filled it in and wanted to plant further trees, they were obviously going to look at the geophysics, and that's rowan tree which has just been planted in the lawn there, over there, and half the bishop's garden, private garden, was given over to this district council to manage. And so this is still his private area with a very fine tree, Monterey pine, which is wonderful because it's shared. It's shared within and outside the wall. That's what I like about trees that get big. They are shared trees, aren't they? You'll see in this garden here 2 trees which are Paulonia foxglove trees, which you'll see again. But you won't see the blue pine again. So this is quite special. And you can throw it once on the ground. Oh dear, it's not there. You've got to go left. There's always this confusion people have about wanting to know where to go to get into the garden, and it isn't a particularly obvious entrance, but it's one which is a nice sort of surprise thing. And for a long time it wasn't very dramatic, but the friends had decided that they wanted to jolly it up. And you can imagine that anything that came in their hands has been put in here. And here we are inside. And the first thing people will see, if they look on this wall here, is a map which is the one that I'm following today, the one that I put together, which has got a number of points of interest. And so we will progress around the garden to the 10 points, and you can, in your mind and other people's mind, at number 8 you can say, I've had enough. I'm going. You don't have to do the last bit.
What about at 5?
Bear with me as long as you can. So this was a garden which, when it was, come back to the point, over here if I may, so people can pass.
I'll give him the shade.
The district took over in 74, and back in the 90s, just before millennium, I was engaged in a tree trail around Chichester, and so the little green book, which is the Chichester Tree Trail, I was party to putting together. And when we came to the quadrant, which was this area, northwest one, we came through the Bishop's Palace Garden, and we suddenly realised, well not suddenly, we realised and confirmed the fact was she'd not been really very well managed. It was one of those green shrubs and yews and evergreens and heavy areas which were very dark, and they weren't really very safe either because there were kids mucking about in them, and you know, once you can't see something you always worry about them, and it was a difficult area to, and obviously the gardener said it's too much trouble, the old chainsaw goes over, or they'll rip out something without any plan ahead. So we said let's look at it again. And the friends, a little group of 5 of us, so got a really detailed management assessment. What was the word now? You go through and you actually make an assessment of what the garden is about.
Sort of a review, business plan or something?
A business plan, no, not that. I think there's another word in a minute. You know the idea, you look at it and you just said, what have we got in area A, B, C, D, E, and what's the likelihood of doing something about it? So we went to the district council. I don't know if you were on the committee then, but we had a big meeting, and
just about, I think.
And the people who were on the committee liked what we had to say, approved 200,000, and it employed a professional who came in and worked with the friend group, and this is what we came about to design it. And it was very formal, this first part, with 4 or 5 district council officers, no, members of the team, planting thousands of plants in here, and it would look very typical. It's a lovely, bang-on, colourful thing. But you can imagine if you go in for, as we were saying, the British in bloom, they say, what's the sustainability, you know, and all those kind of conditions. And so it's a much more relaxed planting in here. And so it's a bit of everything at the moment. Now, future. What's going to happen in the future? And what do we need to keep out of all these things that do well? And maybe you can, by the time you come up to me later on, you say, do you know what? I reckon there's a lot of plants that keep coming up in the planting areas. They're the ones that are going to go forward, and there are some of them that are going to be a bit questionable. They don't look so clever. Okay. So we go on and
sure.
through. Seeded from an occasion. It's been here for 4 or so years, and it's got has certain poisonous elements about it, so it's not exactly on the edge of the planting area. And you can imagine there are certain plants that you want to put into a garden which are really good, but they have got some questionable things about leaves or fruit or spiky elements to them. You know, like if you wanted to know about trees, quite a lot of the trees have got their names on them now. And there is a sheet of paper that is available for people to pick up at the entrances, this end and the far end, for people to walk around and follow and look for the trees there. Wow. Now, it could well be that there will be what's known as QR code. We have then the first impressions of the garden, and these were built on what were here before the friends in the group changed them around using that money and the design, and now you have new beds being added, and you can see that they're really quite complex. I mean, there were thousands of plants designer, landscape, this garden designer put into the planting, and I was party to planting lots of very interesting, because they would be plants which have got texture, colour, seasonal elements, all ranging from one end of a bed to another. And so the landscape design was brilliant, but it didn't last. It doesn't last, does it? Because some didn't work well, and some were too big, once they'd grown and outgrown those which were smaller, or were planted on the wrong side because of the sun and shade. If you look here, one of the things about the garden, if you turn around, you can see that cathedral is really quite a feature that you can actually inspire.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
Tree over there, and that's the area here. And so you've got these, this is what's called the vista. The idea with the design is bring you through and sort of take you up to the cathedral. I've in my time working as a friend and working in the garden, I found I've had particular interest, and one of the areas was the roses here. And so these are all originally David Austin roses, but of course when you consider we have in fact got Appledram roses down the road there, and they're cheaper than Austins. They tend to be a bit more Appledram rather than David Austin. The of course the thing is that I like to pass the idea on. You don't prune roses all the same. You've got the shrubs, and you've got the pines, and you've got the ramblers, and you've got obviously to think of where to cut and when to cut, and think also that you're in a public domain, and this is a particular variety which is thornless, whereas it was on the plan of really scratch. One of the friends the other day said, don't be embarrassed by the fact that people might say you've let it go and you can't manage it. You just put a notice on and say, this bed has not been dealt with now, but will be dealt with next year. And the visitors will understand that.
Well, sunflowers, we got some today. Huh?
Yeah.
This is the one here.
I'll show you the
Go and take a picture of
the
it.
pond. The colour here.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Wonderful. St. Richard Road.
Needed some money. Great stuff. But they could have a very simple water scheme here, could they not? With a
Fountain. Yeah.
solar panel.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we're using that too. So I didn't need the power then. Yeah.
So it could be reinstated, and this is a matter of imagination. There you see the water. And food producing area. And this was his more pleasurable area. And you can imagine that there would be things in this part of the garden which would be tender, that they want to keep over winter. So over there was the greenhouse for those plants, and you can see the elements of what was formerly a greenhouse here. But where would you have put the greenhouse in your vegetable area? Where do you think that would have been?
Oh, a bit close
Thinking
to.
of the design, and it had some little walls, and there were some people sitting there, and a south-facing wall. Dramatic trees and things. This was really well protected, but that tree, that one is the one that got that one,
Yeah,
and
you see.
another one by the wall over on the western wall crashed through the city wall and had to be rebuilt. The outside is still alive there, and it's got covered in sweet chestnuts all around here. It's a veteran tree. And this is the one, you're very tall, very dominating, highest tree in Chichester. And there's a raven's nest in the top there. And if you listen, sometimes you hear him calling. Okay? Of the foxglove. It's a lovely, delicate foxglove-shaped lilac colour, and producing lots and lots of fruit. Lots and lots of fruit. Lots and lots of fruit. This summer, it's been so dramatically hot that everything that's growing is saying, my God, I'm not going to survive. I'll produce offspring so that they will survive if I die. And this is where you get your crabs, your pears, your plums, your chestnuts, your everything, but they're not big, but they're masses numbers. And you look everywhere, and that is honestly the case. The council officer said, we've got to have one of them, and where shall we put it? It's not very healthy, it's not very easy to grow, obviously, but that's a Wollomai. Another one, just this is down here on the left, this lower one, in the winter time goes all brown, red and brown, and people say, it's dying. It's part of its thing. It's a cryptomeria.
Yes, that's right.
Have you ever seen that? This that's a yellow flowering pea, not just in flower last week, but that's a broom.
Yeah, that's broom, yeah.
Okay,
Doing his
broom.
stuff, yeah.
That's quite well. And what is it?
It's okay, yep.
Sedums, obviously. Salvias again. And the irises along on a chance that they might do reasonably and are doing quite well.
Yeah.
I had a particular interest in irises. There were about 16, 18 varieties, and the smaller, more prone, difficult ones have gone, but some have done exceedingly well, and they keep getting planted in different points when you subdivide them, and that's ready, I would suggest, to be subdivided this year at this time of the year. Okay, and there again, it's which ones are those that survived? A lot of good ones, aren't there here?
Right. We're almost midday, aren't we, sir?
Yeah. And you can understand the agave, it looks jolly good, but it's very dangerous. Yeah. You can understand that we're out in the field there in the camp, and they were firing over into some St Pancras and over into Westgate there, and the houses were damaged and rebuilt after that. Some of those houses have got new bits stuck onto old bits which were formerly there. But very quickly I say, written all over them. So there is this quality of, we want a tree in the garden,
But
please don't put loads of stuff around, because it's a public place. It doesn't want to look like a garden. So the waters that would come in would be held in that particular area, but over a period of time the people who were interested and keen to maintain it no longer volunteer, and so it's got to that point, let's see if we can restore it.
Thanks, Geoff, for a fantastic tour of the Bishop Palace Gardens, wonderful gardens, and all that you've been doing there. We enjoyed it very much. So on behalf of AMBIC, thank you so much for that tour, and a wonderful day, wonderful weather, and a wonderful tour around the garden. Thanks very much, Geoff. Do appreciate it.